You know, yesterday we had clips from this Texas Tribune event in which California Governor Gavin Newsom was striking the exact right tone and moral clarity when it comes to Republican Governor Ron DeSantis's Martha's Vineyard immigrant stunt. Gavin Newsom correctly pointing out, this is disgusting. This is using people. This is bullying. And I'm against this. I'm against this. And I believe that he did a great job of using the right language and tone that Democrats need to use. Let's not shy away from the fact that the left does have the moral high ground on most issues when compared to these completely amoral right-wingers. Well, I have another clip from that very same event, and it's of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. And again, yesterday I mentioned, there are certain people right now in the Democratic Party that know how to talk about these issues. Gavin Newsom is one of them. I've talked about Katie Porter. To some degree, we've talked about Stacey Abrams and Jamie Raskin. Pete Buttigieg is also one of those folks. And here is Pete talking about the Ron DeSantis stunt. We need more Democrats talking about issues in this way. Take a look at this.
Obviously, there are issues with the border and with migration. But these are the kinds of stunts you see from people who don't have a solution.
Right.
Like, where have these, Governor DeSantis was in Congress. Where was he when they were debating immigration reform? What have any of these people done to be part of the solution? So, I get if you're after attention. It's one thing to call attention to a problem. When you have a course of action, as some of the folks here speaking up about an issue, exercising their First Amendment rights have done, or in elected office. It's another to just call attention to a problem because the problem is actually more useful to you than the solution, and that helps you call attention to yourself.
Correct.
And that's what's going on. And the problem, of course, it's one thing if that was just people being obnoxious, but human beings are being impacted by that. You flee a communist regime in Venezuela, you come here, and then somebody tricks you. Somebody using Florida taxpayer money for some reason tricks you into going from Texas to Massachusetts. It's not just ineffectual. It is hurting people in order to get attention.
It is morally depraved, what was done, in other words. We need more Democrats talking about issues in this way. What Gavin Newsom and Mayor Pete, Secretary of Transportation, he'll always be Mayor Pete to some degree. What Newsom and Mayor Pete capture here is the essence of how bad faith these Republicans are. I joke around about, this guy has upper management written all over him. There is some sense that Pete Buttigieg is not going to peak at Secretary of Transportation because he is really good at this. And unfortunately, we still have a situation where people judge him for who he loves, the fact that he's married to a guy. I believe that that is going to be a diminishing impediment for Mayor Pete over time. I don't know how soon and I don't know how quickly. But what's interesting is I actually have some sort of center right. I have some sort of like socially liberal, but typically Republican voting friends for fiscal reasons who, they like Mitt Romney, for example. They kind of liked McCain, who like Pete, not because they agree or disagree so much with his social views or his economic views, but because they feel that he strikes the right tone and brings the right energy and is of an interesting generation to be in a position of power. And so I actually believe that, particularly as, quite frankly, overt homophobia hopefully continues to diminish, I think Pete Buttigieg has a real shot at higher office than where he is now, which is Secretary of Transportation, doing a really good job there. And I'm glad to see more Democrats actually talking about issues in this way. It's necessary. We have the moral high ground. There's no reason to lose the rhetoric game. It's just we have to know how to talk about the issues. And some of these guys and gals absolutely do. One of our sponsors today is BusyBox Child. I know that there are many parents in our audience. This is for you. BusyBox Child offers really great subscription boxes for kids filled with sensory toys that will help your toddler to elementary age child stay off screens and do some really interesting stuff. Technology use by kids is at an all-time high, especially after the pandemic. Playing off of screens is really critical for development, for cognitive development, social, emotional well-being for kids. It's an ideal opportunity for parents to engage with kids as well. Carolyn is the founder of Busy Box Child. She's a mom and a child clinical psychologist who designs all the boxes that you receive. Busy Box Child offers monthly sensory kits with different themes for each season, or you can get a monthly sand bin subscription for hours and hours of fun. Check out their mini jars and mini kits for playtime on the go. Busy Box Child is a small business that supports The David Pakman Show. Support them. Go to busyboxchild.com and use the code PAKMAN for 10% off. The link is down below.